First year as a father, I know exactly how it feels. My first year was in 2020, then again in 2022, and once more in 2025. Becoming a father happens in a moment, but becoming a dad takes time, with lots of questions along the way. Questions we, as dads, keep to ourselves. Until now. So, why does it feel like my marriage is drifting already? When I look back 5 years ago, at that second week of being a dad, I used to think, me and my wife, we used to be partners. Like true partners, right? Like the partners that they say in the vows when you're getting married that you're supposed to be. And now we're just surviving. We're just at each other's throats. And yeah, no one really told me that, the biggest change of becoming a father is it's not the baby. Although the baby is a big change, but it's actually the relationship with your wife or your partner. It goes from, date nights, snuggling on the couch, giving each other kisses before the other one goes to work, quiet conversations. It goes from that to, when was the last time we fed the baby? Did you change the diaper? How full was the diaper? When was the last feed? I might have repeated a few questions there, but you get the idea. It becomes a scoreboard. It becomes just a race to finish all the action items that we need to for the baby. And yeah, it can feel pretty lonely, to be honest. There's those nights where maybe the baby's gone to bed and we're just sitting watching Netflix like we used to. But it feels a little less romantic, for lack of a better word. We're just there, right? And we feel like we're miles apart when we're only inches apart physically. And it's tough. It's really tough, especially when you're trying to raise a baby at the same time. Yeah, I mean, we the intimacy isn't there. The sex isn't there, obviously, right? Because physically you can't from the from my wife's side. But aside from that, it's just you start, because here's the thing, like you're wondering why you're drifting apart, and it's because you just don't have the energy. You put so much energy into the baby, and I think on both sides, both on the dad and the mom side, you lack a certain compassion for the other side, right? And whether you're right or wrong, that's debatable, but both sides are trying to figure out this new life with a baby, and it's not the easiest, especially when you're not having sleep, right? That's the biggest thing too. And so you're on edge, you're at each other's throats, not physically but mentally. Although at times it can feel physical. But little things start to bother you now about the other person. Like if there's dishes piling up in the sink, it wouldn't be that big of a deal before, but in the whole grand scheme of things, with all that's going on with the baby, now there's this messy house. You start maybe slamming the dishwasher harder and not actually physically communicating, and it's just because you don't have the energy. You know, you're still trying to figure things out, and you're still trying to figure each other out, right? Because marriage is about a partnership, right? And your partner's before a baby, but the stakes are a bit lower. You know, you can go to work and live these lives during the day outside of each other, and come home and still have the energy for each other and coordinate tasks and have a schedule, right? Because you two are both adults, right? Just like me and my wife were. We're both adults. We can schedule and we can hold each other accountable to that schedule, and we know things that we have to do. We know when garbage day is. We know when we have dinner. We know what to prep for mealtime. Like, we're partners, right? But I think when you have a baby, that week two, it tests that partnership. And it makes you actually become team members. Like, you actually this is like the true test, right? Not the test when it's just the two of you. This is when you actually have someone, a baby, that is introduced into your life, and now the stakes are higher. Now you have a little less control. Fatigue starts to set in. You're both learning, and now is a time where you actually become team members, right? Like, this is where you actually figure each other out, right? If you were actually meant to be with another, and it puts you in an uncomfortable position. I'm not gonna lie, it's uncomfortable. But this is where you have to just accept that maybe the first few weeks, months, year, there's a bit of drifting apart, because you're still learning to work with each other. You're learning how you can help. You're learning each other's true temperament. You're learning what you have to hold in terms of comments and what you can actually communicate. And you actually start having more fights, right? And you actually start having like real conversations. And you might have to start sacrificing some of the work life and actually prioritize family life. That was the case in my situation. But you're learning to work with each other. And that's not to say that you can't have a little romance too, right? Just to keep things from becoming just a roommate situation, right? Because there was this one night where we had tried everything, and we finally got the baby to go to sleep, and it was just the two of us on the couch. I think we were trying to watch a show, and we were sitting next to each other, but we weren't like snuggling, right? It wasn't like close. We were a couple inches apart, but it felt like we were miles apart, like romantically, right? Or from a... And I remember she grabbed my hand and she said, I miss this, right? I miss us. And yeah, it made me just sit and, think, what? Marriage doesn't always have to be about, sex or just kissing. It's just, in that moment, it was just, we're there for each other, right? And just holding hands like we used to, like our first date, right? Where I would hold her hand when I went to a French restaurant, and I would just hold her hand, and we held hands back to the subway station where I dropped her off, and right there and then I felt that again. We were, that was the person I married, right? That was the person I married, and it took me back to that. It took me back to 2012, when we had our first date. I want to say in early October. Yeah, that was a special moment. And it showed that, even though we're going through this chaotic adjustment to our life with a new baby, it's a chance for us to both grow and actually figure ourselves out and on a deeper level. And then showed me that, romance, although we're drifting apart, and that's inevitable, when you introduce something this drastic into your life, we can still show moments of love, right? Whether that be just a small gesture like holding somebody's hand and saying I miss us or I miss this, or just a hug before you leave for work, kiss on the forehead in the morning. That keeps things. It doesn't take a lot of time, but believe me, it keeps the marriage intact. Let's just put it that way, right? And if you love the person you're with and you still want to be with them after having a baby, then that's truly your person. And the one way you can do that is just find moments where you just show love. It doesn't have to be extravagant dinners like it used to. There's other things that are cost effective that just take you opening up your heart back up, right, during a time that is a difficult situation. And yeah, that's just that's just how we I don't think you can ever not drift apart. So just try to keep it intact. Try to keep the marriage intact. That's my advice for you. Give her a kiss on the forehead when you can. And tell her you love her. And in 30 years, when you guys are still together and maybe retired and the house is now empty, you look back and be like, wow, that was worth it. We got through a lot and we're as connected as ever. But through that, and this segues to the next episode 4, you're going to get angry sometimes, especially from a dad perspective. And I know I definitely got angry, and I had to stop myself and ask myself, why was I getting angry so much during that second week? And if that's you too, if you're feeling a bit of anger during that second week of fatherhood, that you don't know why you're feeling this angry, let's talk about it. And let's talk about it in the next episode. Oh, my name is Brian, by the way. I'm a father of 3. And yeah, I'm just trying to help a new dad out there that's I've gone through it 3 times with 3 kids, and if this helps you, please continue to follow along my journey as I reminisce through early fatherhood.